Human Services Committee, February 8th, 2016 meeting to order. First of all, we have the agenda in front of us. I'm looking for an approval. We have a motion and support to accept the meeting agenda as printed. Any adjustments, amendments, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same? We have an agenda. Next, we have public comment. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Seeing no public comments, we'll move on to January 11th, 2016 meeting minutes that are presented in front of you. I'm looking for a motion and support. Any comments, additions, corrections, deletions? Seeing none, with the motion and the support, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting minutes accepted. We have Lifeway's monthly report. Well, hello, welcome back.
Thanks. Good afternoon. I'd like to provide you with some highlights of the report that Mary Beth included in your packet. The first thing we'd like to highlight is the Single Stop Community Resource. This is a partnership with the department and the local HIO and the Public Health Department and United Way to develop a hub model to create an opportunity for almost a front door, one-stop type of opportunity for residents here in Jackson County to be able to provide referral sources to them. This is an opportunity through the Centers of Medicaid and Medicare to have funding to develop this locally. They've been meeting for quite some time talking about this as an opportunity, but now there's an opportunity to seek out a grant for some funding to be able to allow this to occur. Currently, we have, as you know, a 211 center here in Jackson County providing screening for community beneficiaries related to unmet needs, both healthcare and any type of unmet need, utilities, financial, those types of things. And we are able to refer community beneficiaries to increase awareness of community resources through the 211 function. What we do not currently have is a navigation function, which is what this grant may allow us to do, is to provide a person who would be basically a system navigator for individuals seeking out services and supports. 211 currently is in the process of working with the Veterans Administration on housing a navigator in our 211 center related to Veterans Affairs. This opportunity, this grant funding opportunity to develop the single source hub model will allow us to expand that beyond just the Veterans Affairs, but anyone, and being able to provide some navigation, additional supports beyond a phone call with a name and a referral number, but basically help them navigate certain systems. We're very excited about that. So we are meeting with key stakeholders over the next couple weeks to develop that grant. All right, the next thing, penetration rates. As you know, the CMHs in the state of Michigan regionalized. We are in a 21 county region currently with Mid-State Health Network, and what we wanted to provide to you today are penetration rates, so our abilities to serve individuals in the counties, Lifeway specifically, and the types of individuals that we are seeing. We've seen an increase in our ability to serve people with Medicaid, and an increase with individuals who are now eligible for Healthy Michigan, who currently, or who previously probably didn't have insurance. So we've been able to transition people who had unmet needs because they had no access to health care, get them on Healthy Michigan, and we're increasingly seeing more and more of those individuals. Under the prevention and wellness, we have 2 private mental health first aid courses being planned. One we're targeting with the Center for Family Health, and one with the Jackson Housing Commission to provide on-site training for their staff related to mental health first aid, specific to their staff and the populations that they serve. Another highlight Mary Beth wanted me to share with you is this year marks our 50th anniversary as a community mental health. And in your packet, she outlined a couple items of things that we're going to be doing to celebrate this activity, but the 2 key ones she wanted me to update you with is our anniversary provider consumer recognition event. We have that every spring, and this year we're going to do a much larger event in recognition of our 50th anniversary. And we're also going to be having an open house with community stakeholders, with the Michigan Association of Community Mental Health Boards, and the Traveling Art Show in October. So, under the community relations, we are working with the Community HIO and the Jackson Community Foundation to write a grant to fund a full-time contractor to coordinate the development and implementation of a trauma-informed community for 0 to 5. So really focusing on those young children and their families relative to trauma care. The last thing that she wanted me to provide to you was some legislative updates. The governor did sign the Good Samaritan bill. This is the bill that would allow individuals under the age of 21 to provide assistance to another individual under the age of 21 and not have legal persecution against them for doing that, like an MIP, for example. So if I'm under the age of 21 and I'm with some friends who need medical assistance, I can help and get that person to the ER and not face any persecutory damage for myself, being under the age of 21 and potentially using an illegal substance. And that's our update for the month.
Thank you, Shannon. Also, I think worth noting, though, the potential grants and pursuing the grants for the 211, because that's a very valuable service. And I know, the county used to do a lot more in the funding components, and we're just financially not able to do so. But it is worthwhile, and we do continually are asked. And as Human Services Chair, it comes up in a lot of conversations, the value to it in education and in a variety of services that are needed. So that's a good thing. I'm anxious to hear how that.
Absolutely, that navigator should be a huge resource for individuals.
When do you think that information would be?
They have to apply for the grant.
Right.
So they are working, I think Mary Beth said over the next, I think it's through the month of March, to get the grant application done and completed and submitted.
Good.
So I would assume we'll probably hear awards usually in the summer.
Okay, great. What other comments or questions might you have for Shannon? Commissioner Placzek?
Yes. How much 211 information are you sharing with the schools right now, if any?
In regards
In regards to the services that you provide under 211? The only reason I ask is that my wife works for Jackson High, and she wasn't aware of 211.
Oh.
And she gets a lot of calls requesting different items, and so I mentioned it to her, and she wasn't aware of it, and I was kind of surprised.
If I may add, that was a question that came up repeatedly with the Cradle to Career Network. And 2 years ago, I think 2 years ago, it was brought, that was a repeated conversation at the different strands. Do the right people know about the services that are available by contacting 211? And they hosted a county-wide training session at the PD day prior to school starting, and that would have been 2014. So that had been August of 2014. I know they made that available to all the teachers, and it only lasted about 30 minutes. I happened to go to the one where 8 different school districts gathered at Jackson High, but again, those were the teachers in the audience and not necessarily the administrative staff. But it's a very valid point that unless people know that that service is out there, but there's also that catch-22. Although it's a good, valuable service, the more phone calls that they receive, the more money it costs to run and operate it. And so I'm not saying we don't want to promote it and make sure people are aware of it, but you could see why to go overboard when the funding mechanism in place isn't adequate right now to take care of it. It's one of those catch-22, in my opinion.
I can talk with the director and just maybe ask her some questions about how they do outreach to schools, and it could be just a matter of just getting some basic information to the schools.
Yeah, I just believe that the administrative staff probably are questioned much more than the teachers.
Oh, I'm sure.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for that presentation. Next on the agenda, we have Health Department. And under Health Department, in your board docs, we do have the monthly update, which is rather extensive. Seeing no one here from the Health Department, we have this information presented to us here. Maybe he was detained with the monthly national meeting he is on the phone with. So we will move forward to Department on Aging. Ms. Marcy?
Good afternoon. In the written report, I have information about an annual the second event that Friends of Jackson Seniors is hosting called Soups On for Seniors, and it's to raise money for Meals on Wheels. And it's event March 3rd, the first Thursday in March in the evening, 5:30 to 7:30 at Ella Sharp Museum. And there's, again, detailed information there about buying tickets, and the proceeds will all go towards Meals on Wheels program. And there's a web address there to get more information, mealsonwheels-jacksonmi.com, or contact me, Marcy Wandel. And we received a community donation from the Jackson Host Lions Club. They designated it for Crouch Senior Center. So we have other community donations, and when we receive enough of funds for maybe buying a piece of equipment or updating something in the senior center, then we look at that at that time. So we appreciate that donation. And then geriatric mental health services. I mentioned that last month because what I updated you about was when we completed the paperwork in order to be able to bill Medicare. So to give you more information about geriatric mental health services and what that involves, because it involves counseling with people who are homebound, depression screens, memory screens, what we call gatekeeper, and also caregiver counseling and assistance. So our coordinator for that program is Amy Jensen. She's a licensed master's of social work. She's been with the Department on Aging for 16 years, and she's been the geriatric mental health coordinator for 11 years. So Amy will come and talk more about the services that we provide in the mental health area.
Good afternoon. Let's see. So Marcy asked me to come and talk about the different programs that we do in the mental health component of our agency. So we do a gatekeeper program, which is identifying older adults that are at risk in our community. And we served 115 seniors this year in 2015. And we receive referrals, many from like Consumers Energies, neighbors, apartment complexes, friends, family, home care, home delivered meals. We also do what we call gatekeeper, and then we do a geriatric clinical assessment and referral. And a lot of those are received in-house. So we'll get those from the home delivered meal program and the home care program, which they go out and do an assessment. Then they bring back and make the referrals to our program. So there's myself that works full-time. Like Marcy said, I'm a licensed master social worker, and I work full-time. I only provide counseling services part-time. The rest of it I do Alzheimer's respite, and then I do caregiver issues, and then I do some budget and program management too. And then we have a part-time social worker, Pat O'Connell. She's also a licensed master social worker, and she dedicates all of her time that she does at the department to just counseling. So I just gave a couple of examples of what we do. So some of the gatekeepers programs, I probably gave too many examples, so I'll try to keep it short. So one example of a gatekeeper program, we got a referral from Consumers Energy. And the guy was having difficulty making ends meet, couldn't pay his consumer's bill, and made a referral to us. So one of our workers went out to the home, and we found that he was homebound, so we were able to connect him with home delivered meals. We found that he wasn't able to pay his bill, and we connected him to DHS, which they have state emergency relief funds, so we were able to help him in that area. He also was a veteran who is experiencing PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So we were able to complete a depression screen with him, and he previously was in services for counseling with the VA, but had quit them some time ago. So we were able to provide some counseling and link him with a appropriate agency, which would have been the VA for the PTSD. So in another example, we had a couple of eviction notices. One, the client had bed bugs in her home. She had displayed some aggressive behavior toward the management and her daughter. So we were able to provide some mediation between them. The daughter and the agency, and then we were also able to help her with getting some help from DHS to clean up the home because she was unable to do that. After that point of meeting the basic needs, then we were able to complete a memory screen and a depression screen with her, and she agreed due to the high level of anxiety that she would participate in some counseling through our department. So that was another example. Like I said, I have kind of too many examples here. So the last example I'll give you from a gatekeeper was that we got a call from a family, and her dad was participating in some online activity, and he had hooked up with a lady much younger than him. As the counselor started asking some questions in regards to this, bank account numbers, et cetera, had monies been asked for, it started validating the intuition, his concerns that he had. So we were able to help alleviate and back off some of the exploitation that he could have experienced. So those are a few of the examples of what we do with the gatekeeper. So with counseling, we were able to serve 87 clients last year. About 28 actively were being seen per month. So that was a total of 943 hours for the year and about 79 hours per month. Again, we receive referrals from many of the same places that we do with the gatekeeper, home care programs, in-house programs, home health agencies, hospice, and I could go on for a little bit. So we receive it from many areas in the community. We provide like grief therapy, reminiscence, solution focus, brief therapy, also like cognitive behavioral therapy and crisis intervention. So we had a couple of seniors actually this year. The highest rate of suicide in our country is white males age 60 and over. They're the highest rate of completers with suicide. So we were able to help with a couple of seniors this year, help them get out of that situation. So there was, like I said, there was some crisis intervention. We had to bring in the police officers and the judicial system and then help them link with the hospital and the access centers. So we were quite grateful we were able to be a part of that. Let's see, we also have we had a client who was experiencing hallucinations, and we were able to assess the situation to see if the hallucinations were for real or not real, because it was including neighbors. So we were able to assess that situation. Once we got a hold of that, we were able to link him with Allegiance Senior Health Center. They have a health center through Allegiance that's just focused on seniors, which is wonderful. We were able to link him there and get some medication. That medication did alleviate the hallucinations. And then we were able to help go with the primary care physician, but the primary care physician decided to no longer treat him due to the psychotic medications, so psychotropic medications. So we were able to move him back to the Allegiance Health Center where they deal with seniors. So that was a blessing too. So, and we many times deal with grief issues and adjustment disorders due to losing their spouse, their health changing, those type of issues, becoming caregivers, and we deal a lot with caregivers in the Alzheimer's respite program is what we primarily focus on, and they can also become a part of the counseling program with the caregiver stress that they're experiencing. So, I think that pretty much wraps up the issues of what we deal with in the mental health program. We are one of the only services in Jackson County that provides homebound counseling. So again, we feel truly grateful that we're able to do that because many of the seniors that are homebound are experiencing these issues and they don't have anywhere else to go. There's many places that seniors could get to, but for somebody to come to their home is another situation. So we feel very grateful that we're one of the agencies that is able to do this service. So does anybody have any questions for me?
Commissioners? Now, what valuable services you do
Yeah.
provide. You're
Yep.
very insightful and knowledgeable about that. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Marcy? All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, enjoy your soup in a couple weeks. Maybe we'll have winter back by then. We're just going back and forth from spring to winter, aren't we? Next on the agenda, we have the Health Department. The request is being made for us to approve and then send to the full board a new contract agreement with MHP, providing the services here is stated in your board docs. Again, the Health Department has the capacity to bill for services under this contract agreement. No additional staffing resources are needed for this purpose. Entering into this agreement is expected to result in a modest increase in revenue. The amount cannot be estimated at this time. So again, funds would be deposited and used for the sake of immunization, lead screening, hearing and vision, maternal and health and infant program in the 2021 budget. So that is what's presented in front of us.
Move to the full board.
All right, we have a motion in support. Are there any questions that anyone would like addressed regarding this contract? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? So passed unanimously to the full board, this contract did. Next, we have the claims from January 2016. We have motion in support. All in favor say aye. Opposed? There are no other meeting minutes to report on. For March, we will look forward to the Department on Aging, Health Department, Lifeways, DHHS, Medical Care Facility, and MSU Extension. That leads us to public comment. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Seeing none, are there any committee member or commissioner comments? Seeing none, at 12:22, we'll call to the adjourn of the chair.